All right. All right. So good morning, everybody. I want to go ahead and go over this. I want this to be a good forum for us to talk about iAAtlas. From now on, I'll just refer to it as Atlas. It's just easier than iAAtlas or IA 2.0 or wherever. But before we get started, I want to invite Rob Heather to just take a couple of minutes just to lay some groundwork on this. As you know, that I've sent out to everybody, Rob was on the tech committee that helped deal with Atlas. So Rob, can you just do a quick overview for us, please?
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. I really can't, I don't have much to really add because I slept through all the meetings. So I'm just going to wing it. No, actually, I'm trying to remember the timeline, but we started having Zoom calls, conference calls, back, I guess, late summertime, and did one a month, one every 3 weeks, one a month for about 4 months. The overall input that was provided from the test group, if you will, was taken by the committee that was putting this all together, and then they used that as input to develop the program. Most of what you'll find is that really all of what's in the system now existed before. And the primary thing that has happened is it has been consolidated under one website. There have been some changes made. Most of it is appearance-wise right now. And I think the one thing I want to emphasize the most is that it is a work in progress. This is by no means the final product, but it is the core of what we're going to be working with moving forward. And as more is developed within Fathom, it will all be incorporated into the system. What I did find from the meetings from the very beginning was that most of what was being done had already been established as to what they were going to do. They were sort of just getting feedback from us on appearance and some of the minor things that the system has. For those, I'm sure everybody has already gotten into the new system, and you'll find that if you really kind of play around and peel back the onion, everything that was there before is still there. The benefit is, again, you've got the menu on the left margin that allows you to go back and forth between the different Fathom platforms versus having to go into totally different websites and do it that way. I will be perfectly upfront and say that I never used, Mark and I were talking about this the other day, I never used KV Core. So the transition from KV Core to the new CRM system is not going to be a transition for me. It's going to be learning the new system from scratch. So I don't have a whole lot of input on that transfer and all. I do know that is kind of piecemeal too. There's more coming in regards to the CRM. But I will tell you that having all of this in one place so you can go in, check your transactions, check, then, very simply transition into your contact system. From there, go into the other Fathom sites that allow you to do some order signs. It's all there, and that's the whole point, was to allow agents to be more efficient. So I think that as we progress and as we see and programs like this where Mark has put together to just get some initial feedback, I think is going to hopefully keep kind of molding the clay, if you will, on this program. But overall, the outcome of it and what we're seeing is, I think the initial phase here, from what I know was put together and all, it looks really good. I, again, have not had a chance to really get into it in detail other than just working within the transactions. I have made a commitment that over the next couple of weeks, I'm definitely going to start allocating them a little bit of time each day to go into each of the different parts and truly, familiarize myself with it. But overall, that's kind of how this thing all developed. I know that there's been emails have been put out through the process telling everybody what was coming, but it's here now. And I think what Mark's goal today is to just sort of get some feedback from the group on what they're seeing, what their thoughts are. And I will try to answer any questions that might pop up, but again, the technical part of this and all was, as I said, already in place, and now it's in the hands of agents, and so we're the ones that are going to be able to really give them the good feedback.
Okay.
So basically, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I will tell you that a few of the people I've already gotten some feedback from some people, including Don Perrin and Seth, and one of Don's agents, JD Salchek, who's not on the call. I've also gotten a couple of feedbacks on positives. So there's a combination, and again, like Rob said, what I'm trying to do is, like I said earlier, trying to help us get our hands wrapped around all this, so that we can tell the powers that be, hey, this is great and we love it, or hey, this is some of the things that we're finding. I know that those of you that use Beth Zanetti for transaction coordinator, she's found some things and reported them. She's not on the call today, but again, I want this to be an open forum. I'm going to ask everybody to be on mute until you have something to say. You don't have to raise your hand, just unmute. This is no different than if we're in in the office or in a conference room or whatever. I'm going to offer two people just something to say here real quick. I'm going to ask Mike Duffy, because Mike and I had a little bit of a conversation yesterday. If you'd unmute and just say what you found and problems that you've had with IA, and how what you found positive with the support.
Sure, Mark. Good morning to everybody. Hey, I went into this thinking I really wasn't a KV Core player before either. I was at Keller Williams, but I didn't bring it with me. I had, my biggest concern was getting a CDA in order for a transaction that's imminent. And I didn't care about anything else. I just want to be able to dive in there and get this CDA rolling. And it was one of these new construction CDAs where sell price is one thing, but the base price is what you got to deal with. And when you put the CDA, accounting has to do it that way. And within 48 hours after I jumped in there, I had it all done. I mean, I had support from Fathom Services. I knew the questions I had. One person actually said, hey, Mike, let me walk you through it. Just let me walk you through it. You're going to see this, you're going to see this, you're going to see this. And in about 8 minutes, I was done. I knew how to, request the CDA. And in about, the CDA was being requested because I was going to go skiing and I wanted this shit done before I was gone. And I didn't want to take the laptop with me to go skiing. And plus, there were some things I wanted to talk about. I love the note system in the previous one, and I didn't quite feel I had that with this one. I'll tell you, the support from Fathom Services was fantastic. I've had about 2 or 3 5-minute phone calls. Everybody knew exactly what I needed and how to help me.
Okay.
And then I had it down.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
So it was real good.
Okay. All right, Don, I'm going to ask that you chime in a little bit, just because Don has done some research and work with this as well. So just a very short, what you're finding, Don, and what your concerns are.
All right, thanks, Mark. Hello, everybody. So first off, I've been with Fathom for a year, and when I heard that Fathom was deploying this new all-in-one, just as I was coming on board, I was excited. I was looking forward to having, a one-stop shop platform where we could literally do everything. So that part of it has been something I've looked for a long time. We're seeing some shortcomings. My team, particularly one of my team members, JD Suchek, who had used the KV Core, specifically the campaigns, pretty heavily. And he's going through what is, I'm going to call a second, not best experience, because he recently migrated from EXP, and EXP is a very heavy KV Core user, and lost a lot because EXP kept everything up on their private cloud. So he put a lot of work into getting it massaged and back into good shape. And so what he's finding is, now that the migration has happened from KV Core over to Atlas, a lot of that same functionality that he lost before, he's lost again. And so now he's looking at this pretty lengthy process of redoing it. Now, he's put together an issue tracker. He's a good software developer, program manager from the federal government. So he's got an issue tracker that he shared with Mark and shared with me. And what he's doing, he's tracking with the IA support staff, the different things that he's finding. And to some extent, they're able to help him, just as they did with Mike Duffy. They've been very, very good at responding. He spent time on the phone with them. They've responded to me in good fashion. But what he needs for them to do and some of the features that I'm looking for, we're not seeing them there yet. So one of the things I heard from Rob, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this really is the initial deployment, and we should expect some improvements and maybe some bigger and better things to come. And that's what I'm hoping. I will tell you that when I came over from KW to Fathom, one of the reasons I left KW was because of what I will call a failed implementation of their one-stop shop KW command. And Keller Williams lost a lot of agents because of that implementation. I was really hoping not to have to go through that again, with this implementation of a new product. So we're a little bit on the fence. I will tell you that most of my agents don't use KV Core, so it doesn't matter much to the team. But there's a few of us on the team that it's some of the things that we needed to do are very critical, and we're not seeing it doing it. So Mark, if you don't mind, just another minute or so. Well, one thing that I think I heard Mike say, and I'll tell you is critical for me. So you all as agents know you've got a lot of different places where you enter data. Whether it's your contacts on Apple or on Google platform, which syncs to your phone, whatever you're using for your e-signature. I use .loop, some of you use DocuSign, some of you use zip forms, whatever it may be. You're entering data there. We're putting it in our CRM, we're putting in our transactions. We've got a lot of redundant, a lot of data duplication. And that's one of the things that's been a pet peeve of mine, and one of the things that I want to try to get away from. I come from a software background, and we should enter data one time and then it goes to wherever it needs to go to. So one of the real beauties of KV Core was that when I'm meeting with a client, I'm taking notes, extensive notes, personality type notes. Who are you? So we get to know them. So we develop a relationship. And then I'm able to pin those to the top. So they always show up when I go into that contact. And they always sync over to my Google contacts. So I immediately have that information on my cell phone. So if I'm just left my desktop, now I'm driving down the road, I need to contact that new client that I have, all of it's right there. So one of the things we've noticed in IA 2.0 and Atlas is that not all of my notes migrated over. And when they do migrate over, the new interface to IA 2.0 has everything closed. So I don't see those top of mind, those very critical notes that I need for my clients to be automatically right there in my face. And the other thing is it does not sync outward bound to something like Google Contacts or your Apple Contacts. So now what I have to do is, besides entering that data into Atlas, when I'm with my client for the first time, I've now got to separately rekey that information into Google Contacts or wherever else I may need to put it. KV Core did that sync for me. So there's some things there that are not the same as what we had. There's some things that are better. We've got an integrated one-stop shop platform. I'm excited for that. But some of these pieces that are missing were critical time savers for me. And when I talked to IntelliAgent support staff, they said, well, that capability is not there. We don't see that coming anytime soon. So we're kind of at a quandary. And that's kind of where I'll leave it right now and let you guys chime in and see what you have to say.
Okay, thanks, Don. So what do you guys think? So those of you that have been into Atlas and all have been working with it, what are your insights? What are your thoughts about it? Are there some things that you are seeing that you're liking, some things that you're seeing that you're not liking, some things that you hope we'll have? Like Don said, there's something that was with KV Core and that migration into Google Contacts, right? Was it?
Yes.
Don? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's not in the foreseeable future, but other things are. So I want this to be so essentially this is one of, as I put in the survey, BS Open Forum. Okay, so you can figure out what the BS stands for. Open Forum, obviously, and this is one of the directed roundtables. So what are you guys finding?
Hi, Mark, it's Tawana.
Hi, Tawana.
I have found that as I am entering stuff into IA, and even a lot of my mentees, when they're entering stuff into IA, it thinks a lot. So you're not able to upload the documents as we were able to with the old system. So you spend more time fighting with the system to try to get the documents uploaded than it's worth. So you just give up, which then makes everything go into a delay of being in compliance.
So it takes too long to upload?
Correct. Sometimes it'll upload, other times it just sits there and goes around and around and around and around, and it never comes alive.
Okay.
Mark, I see that same responsiveness almost every time I'm in there. No matter what I'm doing, the responsiveness is very slow, and you see the circle spin.
Okay. What else? Anybody else? So I'm going to tell you what I'm finding. I think this is me. I think this is going to be great. I like the one log on for everything. However, one of the things that you guys don't see that I do as a DD is on the left-hand side, the menu. One of the things I've got is documents, and that's what I click on to look at and approve all of your documents. About, I'd say, well over 3/4 of the time when I log on, that's not there. And then I have to log on again, refresh, and all of a sudden I have to log back on and it's there. So are people seeing the requirement for repetitive logins?
There's repetitive login, but it doesn't always work.
Right.
So you can go out, come in, go into another internet browser, and it still doesn't work, or it still takes as long.
Yeah, so when we first did IA, one of the things that I was told was that it does not work as well with Microsoft Edge as it does with Firefox or Google. So I happen to have Firefox on my Surface, so that's what I used, and it was fine. Now, one of the things I'm finding is that it actually works better with Edge than Firefox, and it's still I'm hitting these problems like you guys are talking about, having to have repetitive logins and not populating correctly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Let me write this down.
Hey, Mark, I had one too.
All right, go ahead.
On the notes section, and Don picked me up on it, but I got really successful in writing notes to the accounting related notes specific to my transactions. And sometimes those notes were actually responded to and carried out by accounting during California hours. And it was really neat. I don't think I have that anymore. I guess I can write a ticket and have that ticket answered, I guess, and I'm kind of asking that question, or I just call, accounting services and ask the question. But I like that note ability there to explain what I just did, so that the person at the other end who's reviewing my stuff would understand, why I put this in there, or,
Yeah.
I just felt a comfort with that. So I didn't have to bother the broker with something that was unique to my transaction, because accounting services has pretty much seen everything,
Right.
But I don't think that, I'm still looking for a place to equivocate with that note thing, that I really liked and I was getting to use.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've made note of that. Okay. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark, I'll jump in real quick. It sounds to me, and I'm hearing, I agree with everything, is a lot of the issues we're coming across are those things that as agents are the most important to us, which I think is efficiency, effective use of time, and communication. And with this transition, it's fallen short of that. I want to go back and say, and not in any way as a defense, but to say that having been involved in the progress of development, this was anticipated. And it is there's every intention, and all the efforts are being made to improve and correct these. But I think that there are a few things in there that when I was involved in the calls, one thing that for me as an agent, Don mentioned about being able to enter that data in one time, and from there it can populate whichever process you need to go into. If I put Mark Warlow, prospective buyer, in the system, then when it comes time to write Mark a buyer's agreement, I should just be able to click on something that says create buyer's agreement and so on. And I know that, you know, the ultimate goal is to also get to a point where documents and signatures and all are also integrated into this system. Don, you're using Dotloop. I've used DocuSign. And so, you know, I still have to go out of Atlas to create documents. And then you got to turn back around, like Tawana said, and when you go to upload them, it takes forever to upload them. And that's on the times that it doesn't kick you out and make you start over. So that's what I'm hearing, is it comes down to at the cutting edge of this, which is agents sitting in front of a laptop or on their phone, efficiently being able to enter data in. And that's what I'm hearing. And so my input is the one thing that I asked for was the ability to, and I apologize, I'm kind of lost my thing. Is the ability to, like Don said, to put information in and then let it flow from there. The second thing was that when you open up the Atlas system, and you immediately get that open screen. And I don't know if maybe I'm missing something, but you know, when I open it up, it opens up and you go to dashboard. Well, I would like the ability to move things around on the dashboard to kind of meet the format that I would prefer, and to have the information that I like to have right up front. Don talked about personality notes, you know, call up and say, you know, Rob Heather, this guy's a loser. I got to really be careful with him. And you know what, maybe, and remind myself of that. But I want to be able to also, when I first open things up, there's certain bits of information about that transaction that I want to know every time I look at it. I don't know about you guys, but you know, I don't do what I do for free. Sometimes I feel like I do, but I want to be able to quickly access the numbers involved in this transaction. What is the sales price? What is the projected income that I'm going to earn from this? And also to have some of that information about that client, very basic information. Who are they? When did I start working with them? You know, can we have things like spouse name, being able to have, you know, multiple names in that contact and so on. That's very important. The other part of it for me, which again, I discussed in the development, is when you go in on the left-hand margin, there's a link there for reports, and you go into report. Yeah. One of the things I've learned in my life is when you run a business, if you don't know your numbers every day in and out, how can you manage your business effectively? How do you know where you need to be focusing, the things you need to be doing? And what we're getting when we go into that and we want to look at a production, it is a very archaic version of Excel that when you go to download it, it basically pops up and says, warning, if you want to download this into a different format, you may be transmitting viruses that are going to, and I understand that's real world stuff, but it just seems to me like if I want to look at my production, I should be able to pull it up in a format that is efficient, again, constructive for me to be able to make decisions on how I want to do stuff. So a lot of it is format, a lot of it is being able to personalize it. We're all agents, we're all basically doing the same thing, but I think every one of us gets up each day and we kind of have a little different way that we go about doing what we do, and being able to personalize the format of it for mostly the transaction aspect of it, and being able to access my numbers are critical for me.
Okay, so let me ask you one question and then see if I've got the gist of this, which I think I do. But you said issues affect efficiency, communication, and time management. Essentially, is that what you're looking at?
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that summarizes what everybody else has been saying too.
Right. And I agree. And one of the things I'm also hearing, and again, just when you're talking about Don and Rob, when you're talking about tailoring the screen, the tailoring of the screen is more towards clients and the transaction, not tailoring of the whole initial page, but just when you get into working on a transaction for a client, to be able to tailor that to say which are the priorities and develop those fields which affect all of us differently.
Right.
Okay. The other thing that I'm hearing is, and I will tell you, I routinely get this, reports. The reports section, when I saw in the prior version of IA, when I could pull things up very easily. And I understand what you're saying too about the Excel, because that I've seen that on occasion. I'm thinking, come on, man, this is, this should be a lot easier. Once we've gotten into Atlas, I've had to try and pull reports for everybody 2 and 3 times before I've gotten a legitimate report, which goes back to Tawana's talking about slow response. Okay, so that's what I was hearing from you also, correct? Okay, what else?
Hey, Mark, let me add a couple things to what you just said and what Rob said. So regarding the look and feel and what's important to you when you open it up, what you go to, one of the things that KV Core lets you do is you can reorder the columns, you can take out the columns that are not important. Pretty easy interface adjustment. It's literally click the boxes on or off and shuffle them in the order you want. That's very helpful. That's not at the client level. That's what I see when I go into, for example, my contacts in KV Core. Okay. But I want to also address something Rob said. And Rob, I'm a little surprised that, not that you said it, but the approach was that the powers that be anticipated that there would be a lot of these kinds of questions and maybe these kinds of issues. And having spent many years in software development, managing those processes and data migration, one of the things that just shocks me is that it seems like there would have been more of a prototype rollout, a stronger vetting of this with agents who were, I'm going to call them power users of KV Core, to let them run through these bugs first with the developers, instead of saying, all of Fathom, here it is, here's our new product. And now you're going to be calling the helpline with a lot of simple questions and with a lot of challenging ones. Instead, it seems like it would have been more productive to have done an initial rollout, elicit those power users, get a lot of the kind of feedback that we're hearing today, get those issues, those bugs worked out. Now it's more ready for prime time. To me, it didn't seem like it's quite ready for prime time. In fact, from my perspective, I would put a stop on prime time rollout, grandfather, give everybody a lot more time to continue with KV Core, and let those who want to forge ahead and really sort out what's going on with IA 2.0 with the Atlas. And when that's finally ready, now we can all cut over to it. Well, it just seems like it was a bit of a premature rollout.
So Don, I understand what you're saying. And what you're looking at is the website and CRM portion of it, which is a partial for Atlas. Okay.
Yes.
And so Rob, if I remember correctly from discussions that we had as DDs, I mean, you weren't in on it, but when we had DD calls, et cetera, is that there was a group that actually went and did some of this, that this was put in front of them to, and this is the military term, idiot proof it, so to speak, up front. Is that correct?
let me get off mute. Yeah, to some degree, yeah. I mean, and again, I'll be honest, I don't recall exactly how much of this was rolled out. I know that they sent us probably 2.5 months prior to the rollout. They sent us a version of it, but it was very limited. Several of the links in the margin didn't even activate because they hadn't implemented those portions of it.
Okay.
And it was presented more from a standpoint of, take a look at this. Do you have it? Almost like the call we're on now, where they were just getting more general feedback versus the more the detailed stuff that we looked at.
Okay.
And again, I'm not trying, I don't want to disparage or sound negative, but one of the things that I brought up in the calls was I got the feeling that a lot of the rollout and a lot of the development of the Atlas system as a whole was sort of done looking at it from a corporate level and then trying to assimilate it into the individual agent versus coming up with a product that's going to be very, very effective for the individual agent and work it back in the other direction.
Okay.
And say, you know, if agents have this efficiency to enter things and put things in, that's going to, that efficiency is going to work its way to the corporate level. Mark, I think I mentioned to you that during the calls, we spent a lot of time on the progress bar at the top.
Right.
And you guys look at the new, you remember the old progress bar, it was just kind of there was a circle, a straight line, a circle, and as you got through the progress of that transaction, it would fill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that particular progress bar is really not designed, and really, from my perspective, doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with what I'm doing day in and day out with my clients. That is a progress bar that's telling corporate, this is how far, and you as the broker level too. Okay, you've got your documents submitted, you're waiting on the CDA and so on. We spent a lot of time on that. And if you look at the new version of the progress bar, it went from being about 5 little circles with connecting lines showing the progress to now it's like a flow chart. You know, it's got an if then and, you know, and all this other stuff and dotted lines. And again, I hardly ever look at that. I don't look at that until when it's time for me to get paid. I want to know, have they gotten so again, I think that the focus is, and everything I'm hearing here is that the individual day-to-day stuff we're doing as agents is difficult. And that we need to fine tune that so that the agent process becomes more efficient. And I think the progress bar will speak for itself if the agents can do things very easily.
Okay. All right. Let me just, and then what I want to do is make sure, and not that you guys haven't been giving good information, I just want to open it up to some other people. But so the progress, look, I'm trying to say this with some delicacy. Okay. One of the things that I think Fathom tries to pride ourselves with is the fact that we have great agents who do a lot of work. And if you look at the numbers, our average transaction per agent is much higher than, I would say, a majority, if not almost all of the brokerages, you know, nationally, whether it's, you know, no, you can name them all. But one of the things that I will tell you is that I also understand is that progress bar does help some people in our offices. Okay, it serves as a reminder to them, and also probably nationally in some of the offices. I take what you're saying, Rob, to heart. What I would assume personally is the fact that when you guys look at the transaction, you know, the progress, it's like, I don't need this. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. But there's still other people that need that. I'm actually in a discussion, just so that you guys know, trying to get our progress and our reports and what needs to be done a little different than what other people are doing. And the reason being is that the rest of the state operates somewhat differently than we do, and making sure that the documents, et cetera, for instance, when we have somebody waiving the home inspection, et cetera, there's a document for that that's not in the rest of the state. So I'm looking at that. So Don and Rob, I appreciate it. I'd like to make sure that everybody else has an opportunity to talk to me and tell me, and also the feedback, because again, this is being recorded and I'm going to send this to home office. And I will do the same thing for tomorrow. And I'm also making some notes. What are you guys seeing? I mean, I'm trying not to put you guys on the spot, but I'm going to, and that's Natalia and Jennifer, having come from other brokerages, and what you're seeing. What are you getting? What is your feel for all of this?
Well, for me, it was quite easy I did my first CDA, I think, well, not exactly. Well, I made my first phone call, I should say, to the service, and they were very helpful. I still don't get everything yet. I am still reading through every part of this IA to understand more of what is needed for myself. I do have my own CRM currently. I do have my own, and I do use Loop on my own currently. I would love to be able to do a one spot shop, but as of right now, it's just not in my best interest yet to do so.
Okay. And real quick, and answer that, Natalia, one of the things that over the years we have talked about in our leadership conferences and things like this is that it would be nice to have one form service, whether it be Loop or or zip forms or whatever nationally, but it becomes very overbearing because of the number of states, the number of forms. If you go to Florida, the Florida Association of Realtors puts out the forms, and everybody from Pensacola to Key West to Jacksonville use the same forms. Virginia, it's a compilation of them. One of the things that I believe, and Rob, you can shake your head and tell me if this is what I understand, is that they're looking at eventually trying to do something so that one of the things we have on the platform is an electronic signature that we can all use, and that's viable, so that people are not trying to authenticate Loop for signature, digital ink from Adobe, things like this. So I understand what you're talking about, Natalia, and I'm glad that you're having at least you're starting to within this having a good relation, good feel about IA and getting into it. Jen, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Oh, hey, Mark. It's been a little bit of a like drinking from a fire hose, because there's lots out there, and I like that it's all in one spot. I think some of my comments might be more just due to, I think my account was a little screwy with onboarding. Okay. So like I couldn't get into IA for several days. I still can't access Live By or other things because I had to request that my MLS number and my NRDS be added. Couldn't get into training for several days. I didn't get any intro. The only welcome thing I got was from KV Core, actually. So I'm still finding there's little pieces I missed along the way, I think. So I'm picking through. The training portion is great. The transaction portion is new for me. So yes, you and I, that I'm sticking, or that I've got Loop right now, and it's multiple steps, but until I feel a little bit more grounded, I think I'll stick with that and do the added steps. Right. I agree with the contact thing. I was really kind of frustrated with that it doesn't sync anywhere. And I had some importing issues where it told me there were duplicates, but it wouldn't identify the duplicate information. So it was either don't upload it or upload it, and then I'd have to go through and figure out where it is. So I've opened up a ticket on that because I want to make sure the contacts are clean.
Okay. All right. Hey, Wayne, what are your thoughts? Because you operate in multiple districts.
Mark, honestly, the only good thing I see in this app currently is that it has sign out finally. What I find curious is that just listening to this conversation, there's quite a few people that came from tech. I know myself, I actually worked for AOL. I was a tech manager, on the host side. I don't understand why they didn't put a query out to see what folks in Fathom had tech background and use them as a beta source, a beta group, before ever putting this out into general production.
Okay.
It's clunky. It doesn't load properly. A lot of times, especially web apps, if you're trying to load all the data at the time that it's initiated, yeah, it'll be slow. But you can put up front, and then the data behind it, you can load that later when people click on stuff. So I just think probably the application really needs work. So as far as specifics, I've only played with it a little bit, so I can't give a whole lot of details to things that I see, but like almost everything I touch, I'm like, it's horrible.
All right. And knowing your tech background and who you work for and everything, that's one of the reasons why I want to get your input too. So anybody have anything else, anything that they want to join in and discuss?
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Who is it? Natalia? Yeah.
So the other thing that I forgot to mention that I do have an issue with is that they have too many tags, like too many places to click on to find information. And that information, then you get lost of, that's not what you're really looking for. Maybe I need to go here instead. Oh no, that's not what I'm looking for either. Let me try this instead. I know they're trying to make it very layman and very simple, but they broke it down so much, it's overwhelming.
Okay. All right. I put too long a trail for research. And I know what that makes sense to me, and I'll put that in. And again, that's one of the things. So to give you an idea, I understand that. I understand what you're saying, because those of us that are part of Prince William Association of Realtors, if we go onto the website, they had a very clean and clear website, and they've changed it. And I went to look for something for Natalia, and it took me 10 minutes to find something that I would have found very easily, because there were so many options. And I noticed that too in some cases with Atlas as well. Anybody have anything else? I don't want to make everybody's keep everybody on here forever, but anybody else? Go ahead, Mike.
One more thing. One of the things that I wished it had to begin with, and I use this when I talked to Fathom Services, was I'm concerned with immediate maintenance for current transactions. Here's what I got to do, and I don't know how to do it based on the new thing. That's all. And when I took that attitude, people dove in and helped me. But I said to myself, well, why didn't they flag that as because that's what their concern should be too. Immediate maintenance, current transactions, because you're changing stuff. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything? I'm open to any more information. I don't want it to drag on forever. I wanted to keep it to about an hour, and we're well under that, but anybody else? All right. I just going to close it out with telling everybody, thank you very much for your participation again. We're going to do this tomorrow afternoon. If tomorrow afternoon, after messing with Atlas again today, you've come up with some things, or even some things where you go, hey, after listening to the conversation, I get it. I looked at this and man, this was easy, and this is how I found it, or this is after I had played with it for a little bit, I got it. You're welcome to come tomorrow afternoon. Again, I just want to open it up. Any final things from anybody? Okay.
Hey, Mark, I have one closing thing. It's a totally
Sure.
different subject,
Sure.
but Don needs to wear a different hat at the next call.
No, he doesn't.
Hey, Rob, I'm
No,
Navy.
he doesn't.
I'm Navy through and through. I spent 20 years and retired 22 years ago, and I feel like I'm still in. So
I know.
doesn't go away. Hey, Mike Duffy, you can attest to that.
So Rob, I just want to let you know that you are an extreme minority, because the people that we have on this call that are Navy are myself, Tom Campbell, Mike Duffy, and Don Perrin. So
I've sensed that trend all along. So
all right.
Hey,
Okay.
Rob, how's this? This work?
much better.
I guess the final thing is, Jim and Peggy, I know that you've worked on this a little bit. Do you have any thoughts? Jim and Peggy Hobbs, anything?
Not at all, Mark.
All right,
Listen to
okay.
some good rhetoric there.
Okay, I was going to say, Ben, I was going to also check with Ben and Martina, welcome. I know that you're new and you're helping the Don Perrin's group, but welcome. It's good to have you into this as well.
Good to be here.
Okay. All right. That's it, guys. I appreciate it. Now, what I'm going to do is, since I've recorded this, it's going to format it. I'm going to then also put it up on Fathom Academy tomorrow. It'll go into to my YouTube channel so that you can see it there. I'm also going to put it up on Fathom Academy. I'm also going to send a link to the people down at home office that deal with this. I'm going to write some things up and pass that along to them as well. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Rob, I'll see you tomorrow afternoon for this
Thanks,
too.
Mark.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Don, remember to stay on.
Yep, I'm just hanging out here.
Okay.